guys, welcome to another Battle Tanks League commentary video. I'm a little bit late into this commentary because everybody was pausing and unpausing the game for the first 30 seconds. It's actually been about 5 minutes since everybody has started playing. I'll get right into it though. On the top from the south team we have Gabriel, who is in a Demolisher with a basic magic. He is going up against King, who is in a light tank with 2 basic magics. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, we have Pelmiene and Pikabar. I think they are the number 2 and the number 1 ranked players in the world currently, respectively. So this should be a good matchup. Pelmiene is in the Raider with a basic magic, and Pikabar is in an Anti-Grav with a basic magic upgrade. Both Raider and Anti-Grav are pretty interesting tanks. They tend to be better on the lane than on the middle, and they also work well with short-range weapons. So it'll be interesting to see whether either Pelmiene or Pikabar go with a Star Shooter or a Grenade Launcher, respectively. Both of those are pretty good weapons in the early game because they can they're both interesting weapons because they can be switched to ground-only mode for the Star Shooter and air-only mode for the Grenade Launcher, respectively. And they both have 900 range for the Star Shooter and 950 range for the Grenade Launcher. So it's slightly short range for the early game, but both the Raider and the Anti-Grav have abilities that can close the gap between them and enemy tanks pretty early on, and so they work well with medium to short range. Meanwhile, in the middle we have Plojm. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll just call him Plojm. He's in a Medivac with a basic magic upgrade. He's accompanied by Diabolicue with a light cannon upgrade in his helicopter, and BlackBull. It looks like he picked a helicopter and he's probably got a light plasma gun. He tends to get that build pretty often. Meanwhile, on the bottom we have Alrion in a Scout with a Bombard Rockets. That's an interesting build. He did get a Tech Mech to start out with. I don't know why he's not upgrading his Bombard Rockets yet. Maybe he's trying to get a second Bombard Rockets at the 5-minute mark. Meanwhile, we have Grek with a Bombard Rockets and a helicopter, and Tanker in a light cannon, or in a helicopter with a light cannon. So it looks like this south team in the middle does have a range advantage over the north team. The north team will have more DPS in a straight up fight, however, so as long as Alrion and Grek can use their Scout and Helicopter respectively and carefully position themselves where they can hit the enemy tanks and the enemy tanks can't hit them, as you just saw right there, they just got a lot of shots on Plojm and on BlackBull. They can win this middle. He just got a kill on Plojm right there. Well played. Greg trying to hunt down BlackBull. He does get the lucky shot off. That you could see there were about 15 creeps in there. So he had only a very small chance of actually getting that final hit. But he did indeed get it. And then Alrion just got another shot on Diabolicue. So the middle getting some kills already. I think Matsley is. I recently bound my inventory keys. Trying to see who has kills so far. So I'll have to explain to Matsley how to bind inventory keys later. It looks like the only kills so far have been in the middle. We have Pikabar and Pelmiene continuing to hit at one another. And do we have another AFK player? Oh my goodness. We've already paused this game like 5 times. What I was going to say is that Pelmiene in his Raider, even though he has less DPS than Pikabar does, actually right now they should be even, now that Pelmiene's had time to upgrade his basic magic, though Pikabar should have more gold saved up. For a while, Pikabar did have a DPS advantage there. You can see he does have more gold saved up since Pelmiene's tank was more expensive to random. Pelmiene does have the static charge ability, which you can see him consistently applying to Pikabar, and that is going to do consistent damage to Pikabar, which Pikabar cannot hide from reasonably. I mean, he could try to run all over the place, but he would lose farm that way, and you can see Pelmiene is actually pushing him for now. Pikabar should be able to get a good weapon soon in the next 10 or 15 seconds, and maybe that will even that matchup up. but you could see pikabar just barely trying to hold on to that strategic location position, where that strategic location gives him an extra 15 hit points of regeneration per second, and he was able to maintain that position until just now, and now he's getting pushed back to his own tower and losing a couple of creeps. Shouldn't be too bad, though I think that tower just did kill 2 creeps, so that's about 60 gold that pikabar does not get. And we'll see what pikabar gets now that that 5 minutes have happened. He actually has enough, if he wanted to get both a tech mech and a grenade launcher, though he might just get a second basic magic. Yeah, you can see he just grabs the second basic magic, and so let's see what Pelmiene responds with. He could also have enough gold right now to buy a second basic magic along with the tech mech, so he might go back right now. Some aggression going on in the middle. Diabolicue barely able to escape. However, Plojm isn't able to escape. Grek and Tanker teamed up for the kill, and then Grek did die to a combination of enemy tank fire and the creeps. And so Tanker probably at this point should get a hole pretty quickly, while Grek and Alrion do have the advantage of long range, from which they can bombard the enemy without taking return fire. Tanker does need to get a hole. He'd need 1750 gold to be able to teleport to the base, buy a tech mech, and get a hole. You can see Alrion himself did get a hole. He's choosing to stay with the scout for now, probably for the additional farming it provides. He did get a hole on that scout, and I don't think the North team quite realized that, so they did try to kill him to no avail. Grek is a little bit vulnerable though. Oh, he barely survives the Medivac super thrust here. And then Tanker needs 1 or 2 more creep kills, and then he needs to get a hole. Yeah, he has enough now to go back. He really should, because he is the most vulnerable of the South team tanks. Diabolicue bought his own hole. Plojm doesn't need a hole right in it yet, but he did get a second basic magic. And then let's see what BlackBull got. He did get a hole himself. So this South team is a little bit stronger in a straight up fight. However, the North team is a bit stronger in a straight up fight in the middle. But the South team can use their superior range if they position themselves carefully. Looks like Grek did die in the middle. I think he's complaining that Tanker is randomly going AFK and kind of pausing. You can see on the top that King has bought an iron hole, and he's probably saving up for a 3rd weapon, and then he'll save up for a tank. Gabriel has gotten only 1 basic magic, and you can see that even with the lone basic magic, he is holding this position pretty well. And so maybe he'll be able to get something like an electro cannon, maybe even a rock catapult pretty soon. And that'll make better use of his inventory slots later in the game. Perhaps he's even foregoing the second basic magic so that he can draw King into these mines, as he just did. Unfortunately, he missed the artillery shot follow-up, but that was a smart strategy by Gabriel, using the not getting a second basic magic, which would allow him to push on King, and instead trying to play more defensively with the Demolisher and help encourage King to run into these mines. Pikabar hitting Pelmiene right there. I'm not sure who's pinging that. One of the observers is. Yeah, that was a close fight between both of them. Pelmiene has a second basic magic, as does Pikabar. Somebody's coming in to perhaps get a gank. They do cancel a teleport. For anybody who doesn't know, this is a trick I learned recently, actually. You can cancel your teleport using the S key while it's in the middle of the control point teleport animation, and it will cancel it, even though it does display the teleport on the receiving end of, or the command post that you teleport to will receive that animation as if you are teleporting to it, but you can cancel it before it actually goes through. And so you can fake control point teleports that way and ward off enemies who are pushing a little bit too close. You can, of course, actually teleport and get a gank kill, but sometimes the former is a bit more useful. I wonder if he's going to get a rock catapult or maybe even a fire torpedo. He just sold his weapon, and let's see what he's has on that. I think he would have. Been better off actually getting a rock catapult rather than that electro cannon, because you'll notice that this electro cannon, it costs 2750 gold. It has 1050 range, and its upgrade costs 900. And so in total, the total value of the weapon once it's fully upgraded is 3,650. Which is it is a good weapon. It's a very common choice of weapon in the early game, and because of that 1050 range, it outranges It outranges the basic magic, which is the most common weapon in the early game. However, the rock catapult, let me just show it briefly. It also has 1050 range. It costs 3,500, and Gabriel could have gotten it, but its upgrade costs 1,500. So in total, it is a 5,000 range weapon, and so Gabriel is buying his basic magic back pretty quickly. Maybe that was the reason why he wanted to go the electro cannon instead of the rock catapult, so that he could get his basic back and start saving for a hole. However, if you are able to get a rock catapult instead of the electro cannon, I think it is worthwhile because it is a more valuable inventory slot later in the game. 5,000 gold versus 3,650 gold. The rock catapult is also a pretty slow firing weapon, which actually is sometimes better than faster firing weapons when it comes to getting surprise damage versus enemy tanks. Pikabar and Pelmiene continuing to be aggressive towards one another. It looks like Pikabar has a third basic magic now. Pelmiene doesn't have one quite yet. I think in terms of value, both of them are pretty equal right now. Pikabar has less gold saved up, but he does have the third basic magic. Pelmiene doesn't have the third basic magic yet, but he has some gold saved up, and then his tank is also worth, I think, 500 more than Pikabar's tank for now. Double kill in the middle. Looks like Alrion followed up the bombarding rockets with the swarm rockets, so he's not going full 1,300 range. He got a 1,000 range weapon. BlackBull has gotten a fireball cannon after the light plasma gun. They both have the same amount of range, but the fireball cannon is a little bit more expensive. It also has a more expensive upgrade. In total, that weapon is worth 2,900 fully upgraded. Oh man, that was a good combo. BlackBull and Plojm combining to get the kill on Alrion, and then they get a kill on Greg and a tanker, so all three in the middle do die one by one. Very good play by that North team here. King looks like he's saving up for another weapon. Maybe he'll get an electro cannon himself, and then Gabriel might get a hole next, though he might upgrade his. Oh, he's already upgraded his electro cannon. So once again, I think he could have, instead of getting the electro cannon upgrade, he should have just gotten the rock catapult, and he would be in the same spot now, but he'd have more upgrade cap for that weapon in the mid game. Though if anybody has any strong opinions on electro cannon versus trying to get a rock catapult, if you can, do let me know. Greg and Alrion team up to kill BlackBull right there. Well played. Greg has gotten a hole now, so let's see if he gets a third bombard rockets or if he's just going to try to save up for a tank. You'll notice Alrion, he could have switched quickly from scout to something like a medivac, or maybe even a third helicopter. I think it's actually wise of him not to do that, and maybe to get a quick heavy tank or something, because had all three of these players been air tanks, one of them could counter with a storm tank. In fact, Alrion would actually do well to get a storm tank of his own, considering that all three of the North team are air tanks, and they're being quite aggressive right now, and they're kind of going unpunished for it. If Alrion sold his hull and his tank and got a storm tank, which he could do very soon, that would put a lot of pressure on all three of these air tanks and keep them from being very aggressive. Looks like Pelmiene's got a third basic magic, so he has equal inventory to Pikabar. He is trying to push Pikabar back to his own tower. You can see Pelmiene does have maybe a third of a level advantage, so he has been getting slightly more kills than Pikabar has, probably due to a consequence of the few times where he's been able to push his creep wave into Pikabar's tower. The South team's got to be pretty careful. The North team is coming in. Unfortunately, Plojm misses the super thrust, and they do have to retreat from that fight. Once both Pikabar or Pelmiene get to level 10, they have abilities that can be very aggressive when it comes to ganking enemy tanks in the middle. Both King and Gabriel are fighting it out pretty evenly right now, except for, oh, this is interesting. Gabriel just got a repair robots on his Demolisher. The repair robots repairs a consistent 50 hit points a second, and that can be situationally good on a lane because it will allow Gabriel to push King back to his own tower. And so you can see he's getting free shots on that tower right now. I wonder if King's going to get a quick heavy tank, maybe even a no weapons heavy tank. He should be able to buy one basic magic back, so he'll have one weapon on it, and that actually should ward off Gabriel. So actually this repair robots was probably an unwise move by him. An alternative to the repair robots you can get is the repair kit, which I think it has a 50-second cooldown, and it repairs 2,000 hit points for a mana cost. That's an item that scales a bit better into the mid-game and the late game. Oh boy. Looks like an attempted gank on BlackBull and Pikabar, and they got 2 kills out of it. As I was saying, Gabriel did get this repair robots, which overall, pound for pound, repairs more than the repair kit, and it also doesn't cost mana. However, a surprise 2,000 hit points all of a sudden in a fight is a bit more useful than 50 consistent hit points of repair. Diabolicue is going to come in and try to gank Gabriel. BlackBull is there to respond, and there are also plenty of mines there. Actually, BlackBull is on the north team. What was I thinking? So that was a triple gank, and it ended up into a 1v1 trade. And so now that King has gotten a heavy tank, especially once he gets to level 10, he'll be able to kill Gabriel so quickly, Gabriel not having a hull, that repair robot probably was an unwise choice. So Gabriel himself will have to get a tank pretty quickly. He doesn't really have that much gold, he just gets a hull to try to stem the damage from that King is going to provide. Once he does reach level 10. BlackBull trying to be aggressive against Gabriel. Let's see if he runs into these mines. He uses a kinetic shield to try to swing that fight. Wisely flees back. And then Gabriel is able to maintain this position for now. That will change when King gets to level 10, and he can do, I think, like 1,600 damage with his ultimate ability, which is about half of Gabriel's hit points. So I think that repair robots... I mean, I've said it already, I think that was unwise by him. Let's see what Pikabar and Pelmiene are up to. Pelmiene, it looks like, is saving up gold. Maybe he'll get a repair kit. And then Pikabar has gotten speed on that anti-grav, so I wonder what he's planning with that. Maybe he'll try to gank Gabriel along with King, or help out in the middle. Plojm is saving up a lot of gold. He has 3,300 gold already, and it's 17 minutes. BlackBull is starting to save. He doesn't have quite as much. And then Tanker doesn't have any gold saved up, and nor does Grek. Grek has the 3rd Bombard rockets, and then Alrion has a lot of gold saved up. He's kind of missed the window to get Storm Tank, so maybe he'll save up for something like Heavy Tank, or maybe he'll be even able to save up to 25 minutes and get something like a Hunter. Looks like BlackBull and King are going to try to team up on Gabriel once again. BlackBull does have that kinetic shield. King gets the rocket on Gabriel, and then BlackBull is going to use the kinetic shield to ride out that burning oil damage from Gabriel. Couple of triple rocket goes off on Alrion, and so does a super thrust. There is no 3rd member of the team because BlackBull was on the top, and now it looks like Diabolicue was vulnerable himself, and then Tanker barely survives the fireball, whatever the ultimate is called, from BlackBull. And then Pikabar is going to teleport in. He's going to use his phase out on Alrion. He doesn't have teammates accompanying him for now, so they are both going to be able to get away. Alrion does take a triple rocket and a super thrust. He barely survives. And then Greg taking some damage. He's able to just barely get behind his creeps enough and survive with about 100 hit points. So that South team got a couple of lucky exchanges there. This North team is starting to take a little bit of a lead. Lead in the early game doesn't mean that much in terms of overall net worth, but this North team should be able to save up for some better tanks and get a head start into the mid game. Looks like BlackBull tried to come in and gank Pelmiene. Unfortunately, Pikabar himself was a little bit too vulnerable to join in on that. Pikabar comes in and phases out Alrion. BlackBull is coming in from the side. He's going to use the triple rockets on grekagrek. He's going to die in return, but Pikabar gets a second kill, and then now Alrion's vulnerable. He has 3 people tailing him. Pelmiene comes in from the south to try to ward him off. Pikabar gets an excellent Q ability from the anti-grav to finish off Alrion. Looks like King got a Gabriel, or kill on Gabriel in the top in the meantime. Yeah, Greg's range is pretty effective, but when you have somebody like Pikabar jumping in, or you get triple rocketed once, and all of a sudden your range advantage means very little. It's like Pelmiene's trying to get a tank. A couple of kills go in the middle. I wonder what Pelmiene's going to get. He gets a ghost tank. This is interesting. North team gets yet another kill. And then Alrion probably needs to tank pretty soon. Let's see how much he could sell it for. The Swarm Rocket sells for, I think, 1,600. That sells for about 500. His tank sells for, so he can sell for like 2,250. So once he gets close to 7,000 gold, he can sell and get the Hunter. He could get a no weapons hunter right now, but no weapons hunter is not very wise unless you can get it ridiculously early. I've seen Alrion get it once at like 16 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's completely ended the game. However, the hunter tank cannon doesn't attack creeps, and so he would be without farm until pretty much 25 minutes anyway. And so now that Pelmiene has gotten a ghost tank, he should push pretty aggressively on Pikabar. Pikabar does have 3,300 gold saved up. Jor is saying that you can play Sky Tank versus Ghost. I wonder if he's close to getting Sky Tank. If he can last for 3 more minutes, he definitely can. That speed will sell for 750. That hull will sell for about 900. He can sell some of his basic magics for another 2,500. So he's not able to get the Sky Tank quite yet. Maybe at 25 minutes he should be able to. And then Plojm himself has a lot of gold saved up. Diabolicue doesn't have that much. And then Alrion does get his hunter. He is going to be able to get bombard rockets along with that. Let's see how he uses his abilities. He does use the main gun and gets the kill on Plojm. And Tanker killed Diabolicue in the meantime. Gabriel responds to King's heavy tank with an airship. He doesn't have any weapons on that, but he certainly could buy some back. Looks like Pikabar is finally going to be able to get a tank. Sells everything and gets a Sky Tank. And he should be able to immediately get 1 basic magic back on that Sky Tank. For now, he's just going to use his abilities to kill creeps and kill Pelmiene's summons. Neither of them are going to be able to be very aggressive for it. I do have a question for Jor, actually, and anybody. When I play Sky Tank, I spec the W ability and I buy speed, but I don't know if it's worth it to actually just use the E ability and not get a Sky Tank. Pikabar and BlackBull, or Diabolicue actually, is a little bit late. Tinker is going to hit Diabolicue. Neither of them have very much DPS, so Pikabar and Diabolicue should be able to flee. They do have to be careful because Plojm has his Demon Tank. He misses the lava shot. Here's Jor saying that just skilling Q rather than W is a bit better on the Sky Tank. That's actually not how I play, but maybe I should play more that way. Pikabar already did buy a speed, and so maybe he will skill the W on that, because the E skill, Lord of the Sky, doesn't stack with a speed boost on the Sky Tank. But the advantage of skilling E on the Sky Tank is that you don't need to spend 3,000 gold on a speed pack, and you can spend that 3,000 gold on a better weapon, which probably makes up for the lack of the W skill. And Jor is pointing out that Pikabar did skill Lord of the Sky, and that doesn't stack with his speed pack, so for now that's kind of 750 gold kind of wasted. Tinker really needs to get to level 10 so that he can be more useful as that Shredder. King is going to teleport in. Let's see if they can get a gank kill. Both Grek and Alrion are pretty robust. BlackBull is going to use the kinetic shield to safely tank up to a Goblin Wrecker. So we've got Goblin Wrecker and Demon Tank, which synergize pretty well. The Wrecker can pull people, and then the Demon Tank can follow up with a Lava Shot. He doesn't have a trap, he just pulled a Grek, so Grek is going to be able to run away for now. Let's see what Diabolicue ends up getting if he gets a tank that also synergizes well with the Demon and Wrecker. They do get a kill on Alrion. Diabolicue himself is vulnerable, Grek's not quite able to reach him. Oh, that is a good point. Pikabar's teammate can buy his speed back. And that means Pikabar does lose a little bit of gold, but his teammate saves an equal amount of gold, and on net, the team is fine. Doesn't lose out on anything. That's probably what they'll do. Diabolicue gets a Darkness tank. Okay, so this is a very stun-heavy team. Unfortunately, BlackBull didn't have a trap to hit Grek with, but they did have enough damage to get 2 kills to 1 on that exchange, so very well played. These 3 tanks synergize pretty well because this Darkness tank has a Darkness Orb ability, which does massive amounts of damage, area damage, and a stun. It's just kind of hard to aim. It's easy to dodge unless you are stunned or slowed in some capacity. However, if BlackBull is able to pull people in, or Plojm is able to hit people with the Lava Shot, then Diabolicue can follow that up with the Sphere of Darkness and the Orb of Darkness to do further stunning and damage. So this South team is going to live and die by whether or not they dodge the hooks. Tinker does get hit with the Darkness Orb, and then Plojm follows it up with a Lava Shot and a Hell Implosion. They are a little bit vulnerable right now. They take a Gravity Grenade and a Flame Strike, and so Diabolicue is going to die for now. Pelmiene does have a Siege Pack now, so he can start pushing this tower. And Pikabar is coming into the middle frequently, but he's going to have to be a little bit more careful. Because if he does hop into the middle for too long or too often, then Pelmiene can get the kill on the tower there. It's like Gabriel is using the combination of that repair robots and the healing drones to try to maintain an aggressive position on King. So far it hasn't resulted in anything meaningful. They're both at the same level for now. King does teleport into the middle to try to get a couple of gank kills. They do kill Tinker. Diabolicue is barely going to be able to escape. Then Pikabar teleports in. Let's see if he can swing this fight and kill Grek. He doesn't quite have the DPS so far. And this is a good point by Jor right now. Pikabar His middle is doing kind of fine. He doesn't need to help out that much. Pelmiene has a tank that cannot help in the middle very effectively, and his team is the one that needs more help in the middle. He did get the kill on Pikabar's tower, so Pikabar does have to be a bit more careful if they get into a long fight, or a fight in which 2 or 3 of them die and the rest are left with very low health. Pelmiene can come in, build a couple of towers, and take that command post, and if he takes that command post, he can siege all sorts of things from that position and earn a lot of gold from his team. So Pikabar does need to be very careful that that command post doesn't fall. I don't know if you just saw that previous exchange. Looks like Alrion took a lava shot, and then Tanker used his pull ability to pull Alrion out of the way of BlackBull's hook and Diabolicue's darkness orb. So that was a good play by him, a defensive use of the Shudder ultimate ability. And now Greg is a little bit out of position right here, and King teleports in, stuns him. He also gets banished by Plojm. Then it looks like Pelmiene did get a kill on that top tower now, so both command posts are vulnerable. Pelmiene does die for it. But now both Pelmiene and Gabriel can push their respective lanes, and so you've seen both King and Pikabar teleporting into the middle a lot. They're not going to be able to do that quite as often now. Tanker is going to teleport BlackBull into the acid cloud of Alrion. They don't have the abilities to follow it up right now, and now it's a 3-on-2. Tanker runs into a trap. He is going to be able to escape. Alrion does have some DPS back, and you can see he's not buying speed, so maybe he'll save it directly up for an orbital strike. That would be good. He is getting a lot of people caught in his gravity grenade, and an orbital strike really would have been potent right there. That was a bit of a greedy use of a flame strike there by Greg. He only killed a few creeps with that, and then he took a banish, and yeah, that was unwise. That was kind of a donation right there. Not a good play there by Greg. BlackBull is a little bit vulnerable now. He uses a kinetic shield to counter, and then Diabolicue is trying to protect him with the orb of Spear of Darkness. He does get teleported in by Tanker, and Gabriel is also there to finish him off. Gabriel also finishes off Diabolicue. And now Plojm is a little bit vulnerable. He's going to be able to survive for now. He cannot hide from Alrion's tank cannon, but he does buy enough time for Pikabar to teleport in. Gabriel has a repair pack, and he does have more DPS than Pikabar. Pikabar is able to use his ability to finish him off, and let's see if Alrion isn't able to get the final tank shot off on Pikabar, and Pikabar barely survives. Diabolicue with a Darkness Orb hitting 2 people. Ooh! And then BlackBull gets the hook on Alrion. Excellent, excellent hook right there. And then let's see what kind of weapon Pikabar gets. I think there are 2 air tanks on the north team, so he probably, or on the south team, so he won't get an artillery. Maybe he'll get something like a frost magic. He could sell all of his basic magics right now and get the frost magic, but maybe he'll try to save up a little bit more and then only need to sell 1 or 2 of them. You can see he's actually bought his speed boost back, which is interesting since it doesn't stack with that Lord of the Sky. I think Jor's idea would have been a lot better, have his teammate buy the speed pack, and then he just uses the Lord of the Sky ability. Alrion being aggressive against Plojm. Let's see if Tanker can get the pull. Diabolicue slows him down with the Sphere of Darkness, and so he's unable to pull him in. And now Alrion's a little bit vulnerable. He takes a lava shot from Plojm, but Pelmiene is there to make it a 4-on-3. Now all 5 people are on the north team here. Gabriel is going to remind them that at least one of them needs to stay back. Actually, Gabriel might get a kill on King pretty quickly. Plojm is there to teleport in. Gabriel does not have a teleport. He has a kinetic shield, but he's going to die before he can use it. It wouldn't have made much of a difference there. Excellent play by Plojm, and Plojm now has a teleport. So he can now gank the lanes. He can gank pikabar and Pelmiene and hop into this middle, get a Hell Implosion, and banish on Grek if he needs to. Alrion catches a couple of people in his gravity grenade. And King really needs a weapon if he wants to ward off Gabriel effectively. Gabriel only has a little bit more DPS than he does, but he has a lot of regeneration in the form of the healing drones and the repair robots. Let's see if he builds here and really commits to this attack. He is not going to. Looks like Pikabar got a kill in the middle. I wonder if that was a hook kill since nobody else was around for the South team. Looks like Pikabar is going to come back and farm these creeps. He does get an artillery, which is interesting. He will have to keep that artillery in normal mode for a while since so many tanks on the enemy team are air tanks, namely Grek and Gabriel. However, the artillery can be set to ground mode against creeps, against Pelmiene, his lane opponent, and later into the game when he gets an endgame tank, and most endgame tanks are ground tanks. So looks like BlackBull gets a kill on Alrion, and BlackBull gets the hook on Tanker. This is going to be 2 kills for the North team. And the North team really is taking a lead right now. You can see they're 47 kills to 22 kills, and they just have that really impressive combination of tanks in the middle that all synergize very well with each other. The Hunter and the Sky Tank and Shredder are actually not bad in their own right, but they are taking too much damage, and Grek is committing to this long range build, which I don't really like. Long range in the mid game makes you kind of useless when it comes to pushing the lanes or trying to push buildings, because long range only does 10% to buildings. And then as of now, unless he's very careful about his positioning, so many of these tanks can just teleport in and close that gap between 1300 range. So there's not going to be many opportunities for him to get shots on opponents without them hitting him, and he is just sacrificing DPS. And he's continuing to use his Flame Strike just to farm creeps when he could be using it much more effectively to hit these ground tanks. He does take a net from, I don't know who actually launched that net. One of the North team did. Maybe it was BlackBull using his final net. That was well played by him. Yeah, BlackBull does have the net, and for anybody who doesn't know, if you were hit by a net and you were over impassable terrain, as Grek was over here with the market, you get teleported to the origin of the net. And so that was unfortunate for Grek to be running exactly in that spot as the net hit him, but he does need to be very careful. The net launcher is, of course, one more thing that can be used to close the gap between Grek and enemy tanks. Tinker is going to try to be aggressive against Diabolicue. He does have a light fantastic for him to do a lot of DPS. He probably should get more hit points for now and just mainly focus on pulling tanks for Alrion and Grek to hit. Grek takes another net and a banish from Plojm. He might die right now. He takes an Hell Implosion. If Plojm has a lava shot in him, he's not going to need it. Grek continuing to feed on the South team here. And then Gabriel is really committing to this aggressive position on King, trying to make sure King can't comfortably teleport into the middle to help his teammates. Let's see if he and Pelmiene actually commit to a capture of a command post anytime soon. Try to build a teleport beacon or a tower. Alrion does have an orbital strike now, and a teleport breaker, which is probably wise. I don't know how many people on the South team have teleports. Pikabar doesn't, but Plojm does. King doesn't yet. Pikabar using that artillery to stay on the south lane for now. That artillery in ground mode does almost 400 DPS for 5,000 gold. And yeah, Tanker, he does a lot of DPS as that Shredder, but he probably over-spec'd on the weapons, and he should have just gotten maybe a cheaper weapon like a Poison Magic or whatever these are called, Magic Cannon or Confusion Magic, something like that, maybe a Fire Arrows, because you can see he can pull in enemy tanks and he can do a lot of DPS right there. But he just dies so quickly, he doesn't get the time to actually get many shots off with his weapons. And because he has Alrion on his team, what he should probably focus on is getting more hit points and pull enemy tanks in for Alrion to use the Acid Cloud, the Gravity Grenade, and the Orbital Strike, and have that be their primary damage dealer, and have Tanker get maybe a Gold Hole instead of that Light Fantastic. He'd be a bit more useful that way, a bit less vulnerable, and he might actually end up dealing more damage overall because he can stay in fights for longer. Maybe keep that Light Fantastic, sell the Iron Hole, and maybe the Electro Cannon, and get that Gold Hole really quickly. He does take a Lava Shot and then a Orb of Darkness, and he does die. Pikabar trying to put some pressure on this bottom tower here. Gabriel should be enough to ward him off for now, but they are going to need to use a Tech Mech. And then Pikabar has his own teleport, so I wonder if he's going to try to come into the middle and get ganks on Pelmiene or Gabriel. Pelmiene does have his own teleport at this point. Jor's observation is correct here. Gabriel hasn't really been feeding, but he hasn't been proactively useful in this game, and since he is one of the highest ELO players on this North team, or on the South team, the fact that he hasn't been that impactful against King, who is a much lower ELO player, is one of the reasons why this game is tipping in balance in favor of this North team here. And that is because the teams are balanced. Jor's observation here is also correct. That is because the teams are balanced according to ELO. So if you are playing against Pikabar and Pikabar has 500 or even 1,000 more ELO than you do, if you play him evenly, that's actually good for you, because that means that, oh, excellent use of the hook by BlackBull there. They do get the gank on Gabriel, because that means that your teammates are likely to win the middle or the top lane where they have an ELO advantage. And so as long as you're outplaying your ELO, you are likely to win the game. On the other hand, if you're Gabriel and you're against somebody like King and you're just kind of playing him pretty evenly, King and Pelmiene trade kills there, and you're just kind of playing him pretty evenly, that's not good, because as the higher ELO player, you should be expected to be a bit more useful, either very aggressively pushing and taking the command post, or hopping into the middle and being dangerous there. King and Gabriel hitting each other. Let's see if Gabriel commits to this. He doesn't have a teleport, so he's got to be very careful, and he does die. Not a good play by him. He needed to commit one way or the other quickly, and he probably needs a teleport as well to be able to get out of those positions. He's playing far too aggressively for somebody who doesn't have a teleporter. Tanker pulls BlackBull, and he actually pulled himself out into that cliff and made him very vulnerable. Alrion did get an excellent Gravity Grenade and Orbital Strike off, and now this is 3-on-2 pushing this command post here. Let's see if they can kill Pikabar. Pikabar is going to be able to kill Pelmiene instead, and now Grek is a little bit vulnerable himself. He does die before he can get the kill on Pikabar. So even that fight that initially was very good for the South team ended up, I think, favoring the North team 3-2. And yeah, that's another disadvantage of 1300 range, is that even if your weapons fire at 1300 range, a lot of your abilities are only useful at 900 or 1000 range, and so you end up having to play a little bit close anyways. And sometimes you need to share damage with your allies in fights, which ends up putting you well within 1000 range anyway. And so 1300 range is pretty good early in the game, not very good in the mid game. BlackBull gets a hook on Alrion, and Alrion does die. And did Grek get a second rocket hail? See, that's probably not the best. Probably not the best build out of him. He should be getting shorter range and more DPS. Maybe a hull or a repair kit or something as well for more survivability. Alrion misses the gravity grenade. He does hit the orbital strike on BlackBull though. BlackBull is going to survive. And Gabriel, once again, he does have this, he is constantly pushing this bottom command post, but he isn't strong enough to actually commit to it and take it. Let's see if they get the hook on Grek right there. He is slowed by the Sphere of Darkness, and so he's not unable to escape the hook, and then Diabolicue finishes him off with the Orb of Darkness. Looks like Alrion did die in the top meanwhile. They're pushing the middle. Everybody's going to be there to teleport in. Tanker is very vulnerable right now. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before the North team gets a very severe push on one of these command posts. And even if they don't, they're so far ahead in kills that they should be able to tank up pretty early. Alrion dodges the hook from BlackBull. Alrion does miss BlackBull with the gravity grenade. He did hit Diabolicue, but BlackBull was the one more urgently pressing him. Greg trying to get in position to use an energy bomb on BlackBull. He's unable to. And then he does take a banish, and he himself is a little bit vulnerable. Even though he has those expensive weapons, he only has 1200 DPS. And I don't know why this middle left. They're going to leave it for Pelmiene. Pelmiene does take that building out, and Greg builds something himself, but now once again you see Greg's range being a disadvantage here. Imagine all of the gold he spent into weapons and him having 16 or 1700 DPS instead of 1200. King with a few kills right there, but Alrion comes in with a gravity grenade to swing that fight. BlackBull's the last one standing. Gabriel finally did get the kill. Too little, too late, but Pelmiene can finally siege from here. Then Grek has bought all of his weapons back, so he's fully loaded. Wonder if Pikabar is going to try to press this command post. Pelmiene does teleport in. Pikabar has a teleporter of his own. He has 2 artilleries, and he's going to get the push. He does build a teleport beacon. Everybody is out of position on the south team. They're pushing this middle command post. Nobody needs to teleport in to help him out, and now Pikabar is going to teleport back into this middle. Alrion does get the build. They actually might lose this middle here. So Pikabar did take that command post back, but he lost the middle, so that was actually a bad trade. That was an expensive capture of the middle, though. That laser tower does cost 2,000 gold. At least it lasts forever. It doesn't have an expiration timer, so they can keep this repaired and keep this middle pretty secure for now. Tanker pulls in Plojm. Tanker has his own teleport now. Or actually, no, that's Plojm. Tanker doesn't have a teleport yet. He does have a gold hole upgrade now, which is wise of him. And yeah, I would use Pelmiene at this point, just try to siege the crap out of this base. And just try to get good trades, hold that command post with your other tanks, and try to get good enough trades that you can close the gap a little bit between the net worth of your two teams. Pelmiene really needs to go into the middle. That's where he's going to be a lot more useful. Aggression against Tanker in the middle. They do kill Grek, dealing damage to this tower. Alrion is able to hit BlackBull in the orbital strike. And BlackBull just tries to use a desperation hook. He pulls Gabriel into him, and he almost survives that. He would have died to Alrion's main gun anyway. And then yeah, send somebody back onto the lane. Maybe put Grek on the lane and have Pelmiene stay in the middle. Or have Gabriel try to fight against Pikabar on that lane. Tanker builds a laser tower. He has Pelmiene and Alrion accompanying him. Tanker does die pretty quickly. That's a loss of a lot of DPS, but Alrion gets an excellent gravity grenade and orbital strike, hitting 3 people in that. And let's see if they can get another build. Pikabar does counter with his own build. Alrion spawns some troops, and so does Pelmiene. They're going to try to kill this tower here. Everybody is barely surviving. Gabriel is there. Grek is there. They're going to capture another command post. And now this North team does have to be a little bit careful, because if they lose this command post, then that puts them in a really poor position with all of the creeps getting buffed to hit points and them losing access to this late game tank construction hall. If they lose this command post and the South team is diligent about putting teleport breakers and guarding this, they can actually get tanks before the North team does. Alrion's a little bit vulnerable right now. He's 3 seconds away from having another gravity grenade. Let's see if he can use it. He is going to use it right now. Not quite enough to kill BlackBull, who has his own kinetic shield, and then he barely survives teleporting out of the way there. And once again, Grek is not useful at sieging the space. He has no DPS. But if Pelmiene comes here, he has a lot of gold he can earn pretty quickly. So yeah, have Gabriel stay here, have Pelmiene go to the middle as well. I'm going to get Jor's opinion on this. Grek takes an excellently aimed lava shot from Plojm, and he dies pretty quickly. Looks like Pelmiene planted a teleport breaker that caught Plojm. Excellently played by him. And oh boy, they're going to take this command post. That was excellently played. And wow, that North team gave up. So even though they're ahead 78 to 50 in kills, they just had a bunch of poor plays. Excellent play by the South team there, and the South team took all of the command posts. So that was quite an interesting game. 10 minutes ago, I would have expected that had the game ended within the next half hour, it would have been the North team winning. Excellent comeback right there. That was really fun to commentate. So I'll be back for more soon. Titan Music out.